Hi everyone, Teddy Baldassarre from teddybaldassarre.com. In this video, we're looking at an entry-level option, entry-level automatic from Bulova with the Bulova American Clipper automatic. So in this video, we'll take a closer look at this watch. In the description will be a link to purchase this watch as well as some more information on the product page at teddybaldassarre.com. And finally, at the end, just some things to consider. Who is this watch for? Who is it not for? But guys, let's jump into this video, take a closer look at this watch. Now first, looking at a rundown of the specs, we have a case size of 42 millimeters, thickness of 11.3 millimeters, lug width of 22 millimeters, lug to lug of 49.5 millimeters, water resistance of 30 meters, movement is an automatic Miyota 8205, crystal is mineral, price $245, but if you use promo code CLIPPER at checkout on teddybaldassarre.com, full authorized dealer of Bulova watches, add one of our straps up to $50 in value, you can get it for free. So teddybaldassarre.com, full authorized dealer of all the brands we carry, including Bulova watches, fast fulfillment, price match. So if you see one of our watches cheaper at another authorized dealer, reach out to us, fill out the form, and we'll give you a call right away. And then finally, 9 out of every $10 that we generate from our store goes right back into the content that we're creating. Now, every brand out there, whether you're looking at a Timex or a Seiko, a Citizen, they all have that entry-level option, whether it is that Marlin, it is the Chandler collection from the EcoDrive series of watches from Citizen, or if you're looking at the many Seiko 5s. There is always kind of that entry door into the brand that you can kind of look towards. And when looking at Bulova, there's a lot of just different things at the entry-level perspective that you could look towards. But if you're going for an automatic, the Bulova American Clipper really is that choice. It's appealing more to that, I would say, entry-level consumer or somebody that wants to get into automatic watches or mechanical watches for the first time, or wanting to kind of broaden their horizons in terms of what they're looking for and really developing that taste. And if that kind of fits your mold, then the American Clipper is definitely one to consider and lump in with those others that were just previously mentioned. Appealing to many of the same attributes that I would classify a Timex in, being more design forward, really being attractive to somebody that is coming from a fashion watch background, trying to get into mechanical watches. I think there's a lot of a draw here with the design that we're seeing being rather minimalistic, but still, I think, looking very dressed up and I'd say more mature compared to some of those other fashion brands. Now, first looking at this one on the wrist. Now, the version that we have here is a 42 millimeter option. This one coming in a simple silver dial, which also there are going to be different dial options to choose from. The 42 millimeter diameter wears relatively true to that wear. I would say probably closer to a 41 millimeter case when you factor in the 49.5 millimeter lug to lug distance and a reasonable thickness of 11.3 millimeters. All in all, is going to be sizable when you're looking across the many watches available, especially one that kind of leans more casual, dressy, if I had to kind of classify it, and that's kind of where I would pinpoint this one. It does come in a consistent high polished case. Along the 3 o'clock side, we do have the position of a crown operating in traditional fashion. At the first point, you can actually hand wound the movement inside. At the second position, you can change the date and the date. And the final pulled out point, you can adjust the time. This is a non-hacking movement. This is an entry-level Miyota 8205, but we'll talk about that a little bit more later in the video. Now, between the lugs on this piece, given the fact that this is a 42 millimeter diameter watch and to try to keep in line with the proportions, looking at 22 millimeters with the lug width, which is a nice even size, and you should have a variety of different third-party options. So definitely take advantage of that promo code CLIPPER so you can get a free strap with your purchase at teddybaldassarre.com. But the strap that comes with this, I'm very used to in these entry-level models really putting down the strap, because this is definitely an area where manufacturers cut costs. This one is actually quite good for the money, I think. I think for an entry-level watch, this is certainly going to do the job. Comes simple calf skin. The underlining is actually quite soft. It's supple. I do think it's a bit more contained in terms of the overall style. So if you want something with a bit more flair, maybe some contrast stitching, maybe something with a reptilian grain, definitely a lot of options out there at your disposal, which I probably would recommend. One other thing that I will mention is it does taper down at the buckle, and it is a sign buckle, so that's why I partially mention it. So it goes down to 20 millimeters, so if you are wanting to swap out this buckle and a third-party option, which might be worth it if you do kind of want that Bulova logo on the buckle end, just keep in mind that you're going to need 20 millimeters at that tapered end. Casting across the dial, we have the inclusion of a mineral crystal, which isn't going to be as scratch resistant as sapphire, but does provide a very clean, non-reflective view of the dial elements below. Now, as previously mentioned, rather minimalist approach in terms of the dial design here. So along the outside, applied polished markers with the Bulova Accutron style logo at the 12 o'clock, simple printing of the Bulova logo at the 12, and then at the 6 o'clock, the writing of automatic. The handset is a simple blunted pencil style, also coming in a reflective high polish to match the indices applied to the outside. No minute track is included here, so very simple in its approach. And then the inclusion of a day-date window at the 3 o'clock. That is not perhaps the most eloquently positioned date window that you'll ever see, but is there and will help if you are looking for that type of complication. So flipping the watch over, we have an exhibition case back providing view of the Miyota 8205 within. So this is the day-date version of this Miyota 800 series caliber of movements. And as you might realize, if you've seen a few automatic movements or just mechanical movements in general, this one is pretty bare bones in terms of the finishing. This one is just a reliable workhorse automatic movement that isn't going to give you much trouble, but also isn't going to give you much to look at. But if you're new to mechanical movements, it might be fun to see the oscillation of the balance wheel that is fully exposed, featuring regulator pins within. This movement is going to be operating at a 3 Hz beat rate, so 21,600 vibrations per hour. It's going to have a 40-hour power reserve, and as previously mentioned, is not going to feature hacking. So hacking, stopping that second hand when you pull out the crown to the farthest position. Given the fact that this is going to be falling underneath a price tier of $250, I don't see this as being a big deal as much as I would say for watches that are featuring this movement for a higher price range, but it is an important point to note here if you're trying to time up this watch at perfect time. One final point of note here with this movement, and this kind of greatly depends on the case structure and the style of watch. Dive watches, I notice it's not as noticeable because typically they have a bit more weight to them, but in a more casual dress style watch like this one, the rotor actual movement, it is going to rotate rather quickly, so you might feel that on the wrist, very similar to if you've ever experienced the Valjoux 7750. Not really a positive, negative, just more of something of note. Don't get concerned if you feel this movement kind of talking back to you a bit. All right, so now to close up some thoughts here with this Bulova American Clipper. Who is it for? Who is it not for? Things to consider. Now, first off, it's important to look at this watch with proper context. This is an entry-level mechanical watch, and if you look at it with that lens, I think then you can appreciate what it's going for. Being a very simple, minimalist style watch, it's going to be very versatile for somebody that has a smaller collection, first getting into this watch world, and I think we'll do a fantastic job at that. 42 millimeters for this particular variant is going to potentially size some people out, whereas probably closer to a 41 millimeter in my estimations, especially on the strap here. But I would see this one very much in line with, say, the Timex Marlin of the world. Is probably the best representation or comparison that I would see. Very much where it falls in terms of price, very much in terms of where it's catering to in terms of the design forward type of approach, or maybe just being very versatile and minimalistic in its approach. And I think that is going to be the ultimate draw to this timepiece. All right, guys, well, thank you again so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell icon. Also, if you are in the market for this watch, want some more information, link in the description for teddybaldassarre.com. We are a full authorized dealer for all the brands that we carry, quick and fast fulfillment, dedicated customer service, full factory warranty. So if something goes wrong in that warranty window, you're completely covered, unlike a lot of other sellers online, and you're not having to pay the bill. In addition, we also offer price match. So if you see one of our watches at another authorized dealer for cheaper, fill out the form on the product page, and then we'll give you a call. And finally, 9 out of every $10 that we generate from our store goes right back into the content we're creating, trying to foster up a new generation of watch enthusiasts all across the globe. But guys, thank you again so much for watching. Be well, and I will see you all very soon.